Number one thing why the market crashed in 2008. Number one was the bad loans. Let's talk about the bad loans for 1 second, okay? Let's talk about the bad loans for 1 second, okay? Why were even bad loans created? They weren't called bad loans. People thought they were amazing, okay? But later on, we found they were toxic loans, right? They were toxic, okay? So the bad loans consisted of the following, okay? Why did the bank start giving these loans? Because the builders,
they're greedy.
They wanted to keep on building and say, wow, this is amazing. Kind of what's happening now, but not with the bad loans. Lotteries. They were like, they couldn't build fast enough, okay? And they were greedy, right? And they wanted to just sell as many houses as possible. So they couldn't build fast enough. We are going to build as many houses as possible, but not everybody qualifies for these homes. So let's create a new, two things. Let's first create what we call subprime mortgages. Okay? Let's create subprime mortgages. So subprime mortgages are mortgages for people that have bad credit. Can you imagine that client that you just sent to Trinity that has a 550 score and can get 100% financing? When I was a loan officer back in the 2005-06 era, we never turned down anybody because you can get 100% financing with a 500 to 550 score. Okay, 80-20 loans. Okay, so that was the first problem. They gave loans to people that shouldn't even have business getting loans. Okay, because they defaulted right away. They gave you an 80% and a 20%, so you have mortgage insurance. So 80%. Your rate was probably 7-8%, and your 20% was probably a 14 to 15% rate, okay? Interest rate, okay? So number one, people that stopped paying mortgage. B, then you had your ARM. Adjustable rate mortgages. Let's write that down. I don't write that down. Adjustable rate mortgages. So adjustable rate mortgages were loans that were not fixed interest rates. So imagine now you can get the loan and say, okay, for the first 2 years, your rate is going to be 2%. Okay? Okay? So your $400,000 house paid about $1,100 a month. Okay? 2% rate for 2 years. Great. What happens after 2 years? Oh, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out then. Okay? In 2 years, in 2 years, your rate fluctuated with whatever the market, the stock market, or the market called for. Exactly. Okay? So we had people that had a 2% rate go to a 10% rate after 2 years. So then your $1,100 payment became a $4,000 payment. Yes. Okay? And these are people that probably that probably had good credit. They just were trying to get in. And people were buying not just one house, they were buying 2 houses, 3 houses. They're like, this is great, I'm going to rent them out, I'm going to do it. So when it came to the point where the rate went up, they just threw their hands up in the air. I'm not paying for this. Okay? Because they say 2 years, and whatever, because they qualify, your debt to income ratios, your qualification was on the lower payment, not on what's going to change, because nobody knew what the interest rate was going to be. So they would just say, oh, you qualify, perfect, let's go. Number 3, have you heard of this one? Pick a pay. So you have 3 options. You pay your regular interest rate. Okay, I'm going to pay my regular payment. Number 2, you had an ARM option. Okay, this month you could pay 2%. Okay. Or number 3, you could actually pay a type of reverse payment where it was super low. Okay, the difference of the payments of these two, guess what happened? So your regular is your regular payment. What do you think happened to the differences of the ARM payment and the super low interest rate payment? That rate was like, I don't know, 0.5%. It was ridiculous. Yeah, but it was almost a reverse. You know, but what happened to that difference in the payment? It goes to the back of the mortgage. So your balance was going up every single time you picked any of these two. Okay? And what do you think people did? What do you think people did? Hey, let me see, this month I'll pay my $2,100 or I'll pay $900. Let me think. All right, I'll pay the $900. Or even that one. That was probably like $700, the low one. Yeah.
Their balance was good.
But they weren't thinking. It's like, okay, my equities keeps on going up, no problems. All right, no issues. So these are the three, and then D, my favorite. Then you had the stated loans. The stated loan. Oh my goodness. Here's the acronyms. A, you had the SIVA. B, you had the CISA. C, you had the NINA.
No, Ninja.
And then the last one was Ninja. Okay, can anybody guess SIVA? What does SIVA stand for?
Stated
Income. Verified assets. Okay. Okay, Mr. Clarence, he is a manager at, I don't know, at McDonald's. Okay. He's a manager at McDonald's. How much do you make, Clarence? Oh, he tells me I make $90,000 a year. Okay, they look up manager for a restaurant, 90,000, that matches. They look it up. There was a website, no problem. You just have to have Mr. Clarence about 3 months of reserves. Okay, 3 months of reserves of the payment, you got verified assets. That's what it is. Okay, stated income, verified assets. We don't need tax returns. We don't need the. No, credit score. You need it.
Really?
Yeah. You have to have a credit score for it. So, actually, these were credit driven. You had to have good credit to do these. Okay, you couldn't do that in subprime. And so, verify your assets. No tax returns. No W-2s. No 1099s. Nothing. That processing was super quick. I remember there was a mortgage company that had parties at their offices. I bring your file, we'll process it in an hour.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
We were closing like a week and a half as long as title was ready. Okay, like you would just go in, take your file, which was probably your just your verification of your assets, your driver's license, and the bank statements, all that stuff, and then say no income docs, nothing. You would take it to them, they would process it on the spot, and then and that's it with a happy hour drink and everything. Qualified. CISA, what does it stand for? Stated income and what?
Stated assets.
Stated assets. If your score was good enough, if your FICO score was like 740 plus or more, you could actually say, yes, I make $90,000 a year and I do have $40,000 in the bank. Great. No verification at all. So here you were probably at, maybe 95% loan to value. You had to put about 5% down. Here you were probably maybe at 5 to 10%, depends on your credit score. Okay? All right? Everybody follow me there? Stated and stated assets. All you had to submit was your driver's license or security card, I think verification of rent, and that's about it. I don't think that's all you had to submit for your file. It was insane. Nina, no income, no assets. You have to have a 780 FICO score and 15% down. Oh, I forgot. You have to verification of employment in these two. You have to verify that you were working. Okay? They didn't have to find how much you were paying. They were actually in the VOE. They were crossed out where it says income. It would be like crossed out. No, they just verified that you were still working there. All right. Can anybody guess the last one? Ninja. No income, no job, no assets. This one I think required a 800 score. 800 score, and it was 20% down. So guess what happens when the people with the bad credit, the people that were living in the moment, I'll just worry about what happens now, the people who are playing, was it Russian roulette or the slot machine every month? Okay, depending on what type of month they had, they would make their payment. And if they made the low payment, they will add on to their balance. And the people who had great credit scores, they just didn't have anything to show for it. They didn't have, aside from the SIVA, these three didn't even have to have the money in the bank. They could have gotten it a period. So once these people that are getting houses that they weren't supposed to, the pick up pays who don't know how to manage their money, the ARMs that are just mortgage who are living in the moment and when their payment goes up high, and the people with the bad credit, all at the same time decide to stop paying for their mortgage. What do you think is going to happen? That's when it crashed. So when everybody decided to stop paying in sometime in 2007 and 8, after they had a party for 2 years, getting all these houses and being happy, that's when the market crashed because everybody stopped paying for the loans, and we had an influx now of foreclosures, flooding the market. Imagine, Kevin had a closing. Imagine you, Kevin, going to a closing. You get to the closing, you're happy, you got your bottle of champagne to give your client, and all of a sudden you sit down, and then they walk in and say, I'm so sorry, guys, there's no closing. The bank just closed this morning. That was happening. The banks were closing. They had closing docs and everything. They were saying, and then you get to the closing, the banks were closing like their doors because they couldn't fund all this because everybody was losing money left and right. So that's what happened. So fast forward to today, 2021. Well, number one, we don't have this.
Nope.
Okay, you have to have
Enjoy.
we have good loans. I want to call them, right? All verified. You got to provide income docs. You got to provide asset docs. You got to provide everything. So that is the reason why that's different from here. Why is the inventory low? Inventory low was here because everybody was buying and they couldn't build fast enough. Inventory is low here because supply and demand has reached its peak because of the builders not having enough materials to finish the homes because of COVID. You got windows. Windows are in back order. You have trusses for roofs. Appliances is one another big thing. So that's the reason why they're holding back and not releasing so much, because they don't know. I don't want to commit to sitting at home and building it out. So
As a pandemic.
Absolutely.
good loans. Why is the inventory low? Is because low supplies. 3, supply cost. Supplies cost more now. Lumber is up 40%. All right, 2008, bad loans, when everybody stopped paying them, that's where it crashed. And the inventory was low because the builders couldn't build fast enough. 2021, we have good loans, all verified. Inventory is low because of low supplies, and the supplies are costing more now. Those are your reasons why your inventory is low. So when people talk about a crash, one thing that adds to this too, just as a side note, low interest rates.
Yeah.
Low interest rates adds to the reason why people are buying more and taking up all the inventory. So these are the two differences that you have to educate your clients on. When people tell you, oh, it's going to crash, I'm not really sure what you're reading, but you know, our company was active during the crash, and this is the reasons why. Bad loans, they couldn't build fast enough, but when everybody stopped paying for those, that's why it crashed in 2021. Good loans, verified, but the inventory is low because of the supplies costing more, low supply, and interest rates are low. That's why you don't have.